Hello and welcome along to another Panto podcast. A huge thank you once again to everyone who's downloaded and listened to the show. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when the latest Panto podcast is available to listen to. Now, I've had a lot of people messaging requesting guests, so thank you very much for that. But the easiest way to do it is to contact me on Twitter, all one word, at Panto Podcast, and include the person's Twitter name, as they might just agree to be part of this ever-growing show. I'm also on the lookout for ladies. No, not like that, but as guests of the podcast. But so far, unfortunately, my requests haven't been very successful. So please don't think it's anything at all to do with any misogyny. It's just we've got so many guys who want to be part of it, and unfortunately, not many ladies. So ladies, if you're listening as well, please get in contact. I'd love to have you on as a guest. I hope you're enjoying the podcast and have lots of great guests coming up soon, with a few voices from the past as well. But more about that in the next few podcasts. In this podcast, I had the pleasure of questioning Mellor, who has accomplished so much in such a short space of time. He's only 29 years old as well. In this interview, he also mentions about mental health and would like to bring your attention to the Here For You campaign, which is the actor Daniel Westwood's Twitter, details of which can be found using the hashtag #HereForYou. That's here, HERE, the number 4 and you, all as one word with the hashtag symbol in front of it. I would also like to thank Liam for being so frank and honest during this podcast, so please enjoy.
Well, we're joined today with Liam Mellor. Hello there.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. We always really start off the podcast with just a brief bio, if you wouldn't mind. Just tell us who you are and what you do.
What I do? Anything if the money's right, to be honest. No, I started off in amateur dramatics as a kid at the Lamp Room Theatre in Barnsley, which is owned by Catherine Kelly's dad, who was on Fame from Coronation Street and the Selfridges programme and all that. So I started off there as a kid when I was in secondary school, and then I went off to do a tour in pantomime, which for a company quite close to you in Bedlington, the Panto company. And that was my first job there. But before that, I also used to play football as well. I went through academies with Barnsley, Scunthorpe and Rotherham. And it came to the point of choosing what to do as a kid. And I can remember I used to base myself on Schmeichel. I was a goalkeeper. And I came out to take a ball, and the lad went round me and scored. And I shied out of it because I knew I had this job and I was going to get hurt. And then that was it. I never played a football match again. And that was the career that went down from that.
So that was your sort of defining moment.
Yeah. I used to have the nickname of Billy Elliot in the football team all the time because I used to go off and used to go prancing about, they used to say. I can remember actually when I played for a team called Royston Dynamos, and I was doing...
That's a real northern name,
isn't it, Royston Dynamos? No messing about. And we always just a trip at Christmas each year, and the trip was to come and see me play Ned Noodleberry and Mr. Scrooge at the Lamp Room Theatre, and I think 2 lads got kicked out. But every time I came on stage, you see her at the back going, Mellor, Mellor, Mellor. So, I'm still owed a Christmas trip from that, because I was performing the entertainment for him. But yeah, so I had 2 sort of career paths to go down, and that was the one I went down in the end.
So what was your very first experience actually going to see a panto?
That was at the Sheffield Lyceum, which at the time, the people for Now Kudos used to produce. My granddad used to take me every year to the Lyceum, and the earliest one I can remember, but I'll probably watch once before, was Dick Whittington with the Chuckle Brothers. And they played Captain and Mate. Gene Ferguson played the Fairy. And I can't remember his name, but his character was Frank Tate in Emmerdale. He played King Rat. And I can remember him because Kim Tate had just died, and we used to shout to him, "Where's your Kim gone? Where's your Kim gone?" Yeah. And Rory the Tiger were in it as well. Yeah, and that was at Lyceum, Dick Whittington. And And my granddad always used to book the front row of the dress circle, and we used to line popcorn up and try and flick it off. Guess.
Oh,
what?
so you're a bit of a distraction to the poor actors. And
No, not during a show. Not during a show.
Of course.
As soon as the show started, I was literally mesmerised, and I would have to be the last person to leave the auditorium at the end of the show as well. I wouldn't go until everyone else went because I just wanted to be there. And I can remember actually getting upset in the car on the way home because from me, where I used to live in Mexborough to the Lyceum, probably about a 25, half an hour drive. And I was like, can we go back tomorrow? I was like, no, we can't. It was like, I loved it. And that's what made me want to do what I'm doing. And to work for the company that I used to watch as a kid is magical. It's like a dream come true to me. I think there's quite a good chance that I might be Kudos's youngest comic. And I started their first pantomime in Hastings, Snow White, in 2010. So I've worked for other companies in between, but I did 3 years on the trot for Kudos. I did 1 year in St Helens, 2 years for what Kudos would call the dark side, First Family. And then when First Family finished, Nick Thomas and Jonathan Carnelly asked me to come back and go local to Darlow, which is brilliant for me. No hotels, half an hour, 25 minutes in the car. Cracking.
You had to get that in, didn't you?
Hashtag cracking.
For those who don't know, your saying is cracking, isn't it? All the time.
It actually came from when I was an ugly sister once. The first and only time I ever played Dame. And the reason I did it was a brilliant guy. He doesn't produce anymore, called David Lee, that used to have Pantomimes. Absolutely love the guy. And I got offered Doncaster, but Duncan Norvell was already cast as Buttons. So he said to me, why don't you come as an ugly sister? And I said, oh, well, actually, my flatmate from drama school, we get on really, really well. What do you think? Could we come as a duo? And he said, yeah, well, come down, do an audition, and we'll see how we go. And I did it, and they offered it as there and then. And Duncan used to do this joke where he used to go, she fancies me, she really likes my bum. It's not perfect, it's got a crack in it. And it was just from there that joke got me all the way through the show. I absolutely loved it. So when someone said to me after that, he went, how are you doing? I went, hey, cracking, just like your backside. And then that were it, going, I like that. And I just carried it on from there. So, cracking's been going about 10 years now.
And your kids shout it out.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually get people that send me their voice recordings on Facebook and stuff of the kids saying cracking all the time and getting the mums and dads to say to them, ask me how I'm doing, ask me how I'm doing. It's brilliant. It annoys every performer in the show. I can remember when I was in St Helens with Curtis Stacey from Emmerdale, and we did Panto then, and then the next year we both did the Panto at the Liverpool Empire, and I went on and I did my opening spot. How are we doing, guys? Cracking. And you could just hear him in back going, not this again. But he loves it. He absolutely loves it.
You said about when you were a young footballer.
Yeah.
And you had the choice of path, either pursue the football career or the pantomime career, or even the theatrical career. How did you actually get started off then with the actual theatricals?
So I saw an audition for the Panto company, and they tore into, at the time, I think they'd only been going a few years, and they toured into schools, working men's clubs and theatres and leisure centres and stuff like that. And I saw it and I thought, do you know what? Let's go for it. I love theatre, I love Panto, and I thought, do you know what? This is the one. And I was in college as well at the time, doing a performing arts course, a national diploma at Doncaster. And I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a go. And I said to him, if I get it, am I allowed the time off? And they went, yeah, we'll just build it into your course, so then we'll mark you on stuff like that. And I went and did it, and I can remember I was watching the night before, Jim Davidson's Cinderella. And as I was doing my Buttons speech, and I said Baron Hardon during it as well, and I was like, oh crap. I couldn't dance for toffee, so that part was crazy. I'm good at singing character songs, but I've not got an amazing voice. And I got a little bit of a helping hand. As a kid, I used to work in a pub, restaurant, and hotel called Pastures Lodge, which was run by Jeff Salmons, who was a famous footballer for Sheffield United. And used to be there every day when I worked there. I started as a glass collector at 14. Sat in the corner, used to be Paul Shane from Heidi High. And I told Paul about the audition, and we got on really, really well. Absolutely lovely guy. And he gave him a little phone call to say, give this lad a job. And I got the job. But Matt, the owner, reminds me every time I do something for him, remember when Paul rung you up to get that job? Now can you do a favour for me? So I did a favour for you.
So how did the conversation start then with you and Paul Shane?
So I love old school comedies and always did as a kid. I used to watch Heidi High, You Ran My Lord, Last of the Summer Wine. That was comedy for me. Every time we used to go on holiday, we used to go and watch Cannon and Ball, or Mick Miller, or Billy Pearce, Joe Pasquale, and variety shows. Every year we go on holiday. And that was funny. To me, that is comedy. It's old routines that's still done today, but reinvented and put on a modern twist. But it all stems back from these guys that went round the clubs and worked it all to give us that style. So when I saw Paul, I realised who he was. And my manager, Kev, said to me, do you want me to introduce you? I said, oh, yeah, that's all right, yeah. So he introduced me, he went, here, Paul, this is Liam. He does amateur shows and stuff like that. He wants to move up and that. He's at college doing it. You got any advice? So we just got talking from there. And my comedy and timing and stuff like that comes from when he used to come and watch me in shows and then get in the dressing room after, right, here, kid, listen, right, you do it like this, you do it like that, you sort it like that, take a stop, take a breath. And so everything I learnt came from Paul. He was my mentor as a kid. And I couldn't thank the guy enough.
That is absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
To think that somebody could take you under their wing like that, directly.
He just wanted to help people. And there is, sometimes in the industry, there's a lot of the older generation that doesn't want to and want to protect what they've done, which I fully understand. But he said, I've had my time. I've done it, you know what I mean? In the 70s and 80s, he was as big as what Peter Kay is now. And he said, if I can pass on something that they're going to do, and then there's still a bit of me that's going on as well. And I was like, yeah. So he helped me through a lot of things, yeah. Absolutely brilliant. God rest him. Miss him every day. We used to talk loads. And I can remember I was on holiday with the kids when I found out that he passed. His daughter Janice rung, and it was a sad day. And literally, we were at a caravan site actually with the kids, and I came back from the entertainment room and we put the kids to bed, and I switched on the TV and we went on BBC Two and IDI were on. I just sat there and just watched it, and missed the guy. He was absolutely brilliant, lovely gent.
Do you think if you hadn't have had that chance meeting with him, things would have been different?
Oh, I wouldn't have got that job. I were crap. I were crap in that audition. No word of a lie. I were awful. Me button speech was good. I can remember, I think I sung Master of the House. And I only got a backing track on the way down that got sent to me, or the night before, I can remember, because the one I had broke. And the dancing, I tried to keep as far back as possible, so unless they saw me dancing in the toilet, they didn't see me dance. So, I would have never got that job. Oh, crap. Here's a fact about Paul as well. He was down to the last two to play Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. So if it went the other way, it would have been Paul. And how much would his career boosted back up again after that? Flip of a coin, which way it would have gone. But yeah, I can remember him up for that and everything.
Wouldn't have put him down for Bilbo, would you?
No. But he was quite small. Quite small, Paul. So it probably would have worked out. I was like going, well, didn't have to put any of the others on stilts or anything like that. I'll put him on his knees. He would have never got back up if he were on his knees. But yeah, so...
That's lovely, though, you ended up forging a friendship with him as well.
Yeah. He actually, when I went off to drama school, I was to London, and he gave me an envelope, and he said, when you get there, and he said, are you having a bad day? Just open it up. And there were a day, because the course that I was on was supposed to be for over 21s. It was sort of like an MA, and I was 18. And it wasn't until I thought, on the tube, I better read the prospectus, and I saw it. I was like, oh, crap. I've just wasted 45 quid here, haven't I, doing this? And they let me in, and they said it'll be hard for you, but we think you can do it. And they were talking about a lot of stuff which a lot of people will have visited in uni and things like that, but didn't have a clue. The words they're saying that, I'm not going, I ain't got a clue what you're talking about. And I thought, I've had a really bad time. And I opened the envelope, and there were 500 quid in there. And so this is what, you know what I mean, it's 11 years ago now. It's a good bit of cash, and especially when you're at drama school and struggling and stuff like that. And I just rung him up and went, what's all this for? And he was like, oh, have you had a bad day? And yeah, he went, well, go get yourself a drink now. We'll get yourself a takeaway. Sit down, relax, have that, get back in tomorrow. So like stuff like that he used to do, which were just brilliant.
And have you had many experiences with other people on the ladder on the way up?
It was Billy that told me to get in contact with Kudos, because where I used to work, Billy does about 3 shows there a year, like evening entertainment, and used to love it. That was probably one of the things that I used to learn the most as well, because we had a huge function room. We used to have a lot of evenings, so Billy used to come down a lot. The Grumbleweeds used to come down a lot. Who else? A guy, he's actually not doing well at the moment. I believe, last I've heard, he's in a coma. I think it's in Benidorm or something. Jimmy Carroll, who does Radio Sheffield, but a comic as well. I used to watch them. And as a glass collector, going around collecting glasses, and you used to get the crap took out of you from them.
Yeah.
So it was sort of learning that from them. So I used to meet a lot of people through that and learn their timing and skills. And when they're on, never to go and collect any glasses or wear a pink shirt. Jimmy Carroll absolutely did me for wearing a pink shirt. Yeah, and look at him collecting glasses with a pink shirt on. You ever kissed a girl? Used to get, and I had blonde highlights in my hair then as well, so it probably didn't work. I was like a Butlins reject.
So you never wanted to go down that route either, the whole Butlins thing?
I did it, I work for Warner's, which is the same company as Butlins and Haven, but it's adults only. I finished doing Panto for Dougie Chapman, and there was a lad in there playing Dandini, and he went to work at this holiday park in Lowestoft, Gunton Hall, for Warner's, and he said to me, they need a vocalist. I said, oh, not really a vocalist. He said, trust me, you'll be fine, it's adults only. I was like, what? He went, oh yeah, it's an adults only holiday park, so just think of that. You wave one lot in, they stay for the week, and you wave them out, and as you're waving them out, you wave another lot in. 18, single, for adults only, winner. He didn't tell me it was for like over 65s. And you're there teaching them ballroom dancing and line dancing.
So it was like Heidi High.
Yeah. Well, actually, Paul told me that they were the sites they used to use. The Warner sites was what Heidi High used, was a Warner leisure site. So, yeah, so it was literally like Heidi High. It was crazy. It's like full of old people. I'll tell you something, they get a mile away from the site, and you can just hear them all on the coach going, oh, bingo, 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 bingo. And that were it. All they cared about were the bingo, but it were big money. Used to be like $1,000 for a line. You get it cheaper in Redcar around here. But yeah, and I can remember once the fire alarm went off during bingo. Oh, the worst thing that could have ever happened. And we knew because the electricity used to cut out if the fire alarm went off. And I was there calling the bingo and the board went black. I was like, oh no. And it's all on an upper level, so everyone's getting out and everyone had to go outside, come back in. Luckily the board switches on and it's still going, right, are we all ready to start? No, Marion's not back. All right, sorry, I've got 2 of them, but they're not Crystal, love. But we'll wait. Anyone got any jokes? Anyone tap dance? No. But it was crazy. They loved their bingo. And you did not do anything to interrupt that bloody bingo, I'll tell you that. I really miss it.
Did you learn much, though, working for Warner's?
Yeah. Again, the comedy acts that used to come and learning about timing. I said, I run my own agency now. And a lad that I went back to teach at Doncaster College, and I took him on. And the first job I put him in was in a holiday park, and then I put him on a TIE tour of a play, and then I put him on a tour in pantomime. And I said, you will learn more out of them 3 jobs than you will in your first year of drama school, of how to use and work an audience and what works and what doesn't work. And you do, because in jobs like that, if you're crap, they'll tell you. We were in Glasgow with a tour in pantomime, and we had bottles thrown at us by these kids. Plastic bottles in a working men's club. Luckily, they were plastic.
Yeah, plastic.
But if you were rubbish and they lost interest, they tell you. And you learn a lot through jobs like that of going what works and what doesn't work and how to gauge an audience. And same as doing the working men's clubs as the older comics did. You know what I mean? They tell you.
Does part of you wish you were born in a different generation?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I wish... Well, I was born in the late 80s, but I wish I was born in the late 70s, earlier 80s. Because if I was... Well, if the late 70s, maybe the clubs is the way that I would have gone down, because that's what everyone did to learn the trade. They've gone down that route where there's certain stuff like holiday parks and things like that, but it's not as big as what it used to be, and where you used to go and things. You know what I mean? There's not many working men's clubs anymore that put stuff on. To be honest, they're only kept open for christenings and funerals, to be honest. So, but no, I wish I was to go through that timing and be able to work on things and go and watch everyone and see how they used to do it. Yeah, a good 10 years earlier, I would have been happier to work it all out from there.
And what about now with the family? Do you like to take the kids to
Panto?
And...
Oh yeah, the kids. My stepson Matthew, he was getting a bit to the point of I'm not bothered anymore. And then I took him to Weymouth with me this year. I took my daughter the week before, and I took Matthew I think the week after. And he proper got back into it, because the thing is now, there's a lot more effects and stuff that are coming into pantomime. And you've got to remember there's kids that are on the phones or on the tablets all day, and you've got to work out something that's going to take them off that. And it needs to be stuff with effects in, like what the Twins effects do. They're absolutely brilliant. And that's where I think a lot of companies now are falling short. The shows I write, they are traditional, but they're modernised. And you've got to do that. There's nothing wrong with keeping the traditional elements, and I love the traditional elements. You've got to. But you've got to modernise now. And that's where a lot of smaller companies and older companies, like God bless him, Dougie, started losing things. But Dougie was very traditional. and he lost some venues through not being able to do that, and it's hard for someone that's been doing it for how many years with brilliant acts and brilliant shows that he put in, but times change and you've got to move with it now, unfortunately.
How many have you written?
Oh, lots.
We should tell the listener as well. You don't only perform, you write as well.
Yeah, direct now as well.
And direct.
Writing and directing. Yeah, I've wrote Aladdin, Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella, Wizard of Oz. I've recently just finished writing The Snow Queen, which was probably my most challenging one, because the producer wanted it sort of like Frozen. I was like, well, we can't. Disney is the people not to cross. Don't cross Disney. So I had to find a way around it, and absolutely loved it in the end. Came up with this idea and just really, really worked, and sent it over to him going, oh, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? I don't know if he's going to like it. And he sent one back saying, I think this is the best thing you've ever wrote. And it goes out in October in Bolton, Albert Halls, and then it goes to the Corro in Ulverston and Aberdeen at Christmas. So I've got to make sure I go and see that.
What actually started off the writing?
Well, I actually got a double D in English, and I'm dyslexic. Anyone that's performed in shows that I've wrote will say I write as I talk, which is not great. And the spell check goes through quite a few times. But I was in drama school, and I wrote Anastasia as a pantomime, which I produced in London, which was the New Players Theatre at the time, but it's now the Charing Cross Theatre under the Archers at Charing Cross. And I believe I'm the only one in the Guardian or the Times to get a 0-star review. Bloody awful. It was bloody awful. The show worked, the script worked, but we had a lot of problems, which was some down to the theatre, saying they could provide stuff that they didn't. I was in Pantomime in Middlesbrough at the time, so and it was the year we had some really, really bad snow, so when I was supposed to get down to direct the comedy scenes and the routines, I couldn't physically get there. So it all went a bit tits up, in all honesty. And I think I lost about 13 to 16 grand on that show. How old was it at the time? 20? Yeah.
You had 13, 16 grand at 20.
Oh, no, I didn't have it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have it, no. Basically, the way that it worked out, it was only a short run and stuff like that, and normally you get quite a good advance of ticket sales and stuff like that, and then that's the cash that you use to pay everyone. The theatre made their money. We worked on a split where they would cover their cost, I would cover my cost, and 50-50 split on the rest. They covered their cost, I got £1,000, which paid all the cast and crew, but the sets and stuff like that didn't. So I had to take out a loan. I went and took out a personal loan at Lloyd's, and it wasn't until 2013 that I paid it off. And literally 3 months after that show, I found out I was going to be having my daughter. So it was a whirlwind of an experience, but I'm glad I did it. Not many people at 20, 21 could say that they've produced a show which is now classed as a West End theatre. So yeah, that was the first one I wrote. I loved it because I always loved Anastasia, watching the film. I thought, yeah, we can work out, instead of having Dimitri's mate Vlad, why that could be a dame and Dimitri could be his daughter, her son. So I worked it out like that and stuff, and I enjoyed doing it, loved doing it, and if you're going to produce with someone else's money. That's mine.
So how does the writing process actually start with you? How do you get the commissioning? Does somebody say to you, I want you to do Pinocchio or Snow White or something like that? Or do you just go, I'm going to do this?
There is a set of stock scripts that I've got anyway, but they mainly come from people saying, I want to write this. It started properly writing was when I was in St Helens. I did the Easter pantomime there for them because their comic pulled out. And they said to me, we'd like you to come back at Christmas. And said, would you be interested in writing? Because they used to have, what's his name? Magician. I forgot his name. He used to be in all their shows. Richard DeVere. He used to be in all their shows. And I know he used to do quite a lot of the writing and routines for him. And unfortunately, he died just before the Easter pantomime. So they asked me and said, would you like to write as well? I said, oh, yeah, I'd love to. So I wrote a Jack and the Beanstalk for them, and they loved it. And from then on, I used to do their Easter and October shows as well. I used to write them. And then when I went over to the Empire, I used to write still write their Christmas ones. So that's where it started asking me. And then from other companies coming and watching that, they started asking me to write. And I think it's good as writing from a comic or from a Dane, because you've got a lot of routines that you know that you do as well. So then you can put them into them shows, and then it's just the bits where there's no routines or songs that are the hardest bits to write, because sometimes there can be the crappiest bits because there's not much going off, but you've got to keep that story going. So they're the hardest bits to make it interlink. So normally when I write, I do a list of scenes that I have to do, and you always got to go, right, you've got a scene change as well, so you've always got to write your front cloth one, which is normally your gags and stuff like that. So when you're writing, you've got to think of this stuff as well, of going, well, the scenery's got to change there, and you only do that from doing the shows. So yeah, I write for amateur companies as well now that take the scripts out and stuff. Yeah, it's for a double D in English dyslexic lad, not that bad now.
Is there anything you don't like that you've got to include?
Yeah. There was one company I worked for that loved doing UV scenes, and I bloody hated them because it was from this old guy that went back. He was good back in the day, but his music to the routine used to come on a cassette, and it weren't cut properly. It used to like go from da 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 da. He's like, you could tell cuts and stuff like that, and I used to hate it. And they used to go to the point of going, "Oh right, we need to do this scene change. I bought this stuff, so we need to find something to put in." And then they used to go, "Oh, let's get the UV guy in." I was like, "No, let's not get the UV guy in." But end of the day, the producer's the one that are paying your bill. So you're the one you've got to, you know what I mean, you've got to do it to a certain degree. There's times where I will email back and go, I don't think this will really work. You know what I mean? If you want it in, have it in, but can I think of another option for you and stuff like that? And 9 times out of 10, with the producers, we normally always come to a good reason why. And you know what I mean? If they're putting that trust in you, they've got to also give you that trust back. You know what I mean? They're trusting you, so go, this is what you pay me to do, trust me, and it's your name on it as well, so you don't want to write something that's going to be rubbish, because they'll go, well, he wrote it. So you know what I mean, you've got to be able to just trust your writer in what they're doing and go with it.
Anything you love, routine wise, that you like to perform as well as write?
Song sheet especially for a comic is the most special part for me, especially when you've got kids up as well, because it's the bit that every kid wants to be in. They want to be in that song sheet, and this material you can get off that is amazing. You get these kids up and they're there, and you never know what they're going to say, what they're going to do. That's my favourite part. And when I write the song sheet as well, it'll say whatever, Buttons comes on, does birthdays, does hellos, Old MacDonald, Kid 1, Kid 2, Kid 3, Kid 4, sing all together, exit. And that's all I write for it. And you've got to let the comic take it and see where it goes with it. I can remember once Eric Potts, who I work with now, brilliant director, brilliant writer, and he said to me, I think it was in Liverpool, the first time we worked together, and he said to me, 4 minutes for your song sheet, and I went, what? He went, yeah, 4 minutes. I went, you never seen me in a show, have you? He went, I don't care, 4 minutes. I was like, oh, no way on earth. Obviously, he was joking. Eric, he makes me howl. He used to come to me at stage, and he used to go, Liam, can I just ask you something? I was like, yeah. He went, you do us a favour? I went, yeah, Eric, not a problem. He went, just be funny. He used to say that just as you walk on. That's what, honestly, every time. Still last year. And Darlow, that's what he used to say, and he'll probably say it again this year. Every time, just before I go on. Liam, yeah, be funny.
So what about the kids then? Any memorable moments when you've had the little tinkers up on stage? Good and bad.
Oh, good and bad. Oh, there was this one kid. I like to do in certain places where we forgot a bag and come on, and I normally give him the penny or something like that and say to him, it's magic, put it under your pillow when you wake up in the morning, there'll be a £10 note. So there was this one kid, it was in Hastings, and said, oh, we haven't got a bag. And he ran for me. He literally ran for me. And I had to duck, pick him up and put him on my shoulder. Because he was swinging and he was banging on me back. And I was like, all right, calm down. And I could see the company manager in the wings with her hands over her face, there shaking her head, going, no. And I was like, what have I done? What have I done? I've just stopped someone from hitting me. And then I put him down and I went, hold on, let me see what I can get. I'll sort it out. And when I got him back and he was fine, and he calmed down and did the penny thing. And he went, and I turned to the company manager after and I went, I'm sorry. I said, I didn't know what else to do. I just thought I'd put him on my shoulder. And she went, no, I weren't bothered about that. He said, but his foot kept swinging up and down. And if he connected, you would have been down holding something for quite a long time. And I was like, all right. Yeah. Yeah, so that was the good one. Well, in a way, good. There was one kid that I sometimes like to go, are you married? And go, no. I said, well, he keeps looking at you, or she keeps looking at you. And I went, are you interested? And she went, yeah. I was like, what? Hold on. I went, are you interested? He went, yeah. I was like, brilliant. So I started a little marriage. Oh yeah. So that were good, and them two, they were holding hands for the rest of the show and stuff like that, and it were brilliant. It was like started a little romance off there. But yeah, that's the best thing about song sheets. You never know what's going to happen, and kids are brilliant. You remember watching Michael Barrymore's what was the programme called?
My Kind of People.
My Kind of People. He had the kids on and stuff like that, and the kids, what they used to say, brilliant. And you see the parents there hanging their heads in shame, and like, yes, this is the stuff that we want. Well, get her kids up and going, who's here? Me and Mummy. Oh, where are you, Mummy? And she goes, woo. I look at her. Oh, hello, Mummy. Ring a ding ding. Is it just you and your mum? Yeah. Winner. What's your postcode? Yeah. Stuff like that. Because kids will tell you the truth. It's brilliant. Yeah, that's why I love song sheets so much. It's the best thing ever.
During the first part, you're like, right, can I get through to that song sheet, even if you're having a bad day?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you've got to. And that's probably the hardest thing in a comic if you're having a bad day. Over last Christmas, my stepdad had a heart attack on New Year's Day. He actually died 3 times. We didn't have any shows New Year's Day. I drove over to Sheffield where he was took, and the next day I stayed with my mum that night and drove back for 2 shows the next day. And I've got to be happy and smiley and for the kids and stuff like that, and I'm going, my stepdad's just died 3 times yesterday. He's only just recovered. Nurses have told me that they've never seen anyone come back from that. But I've got to go on and do that. And that's probably the hardest thing, is as a comic as well. A lot of comics are depressed. A lot of comics are depressed. I've been on anxiety tablets and antidepressants. And there's a campaign running at the moment called Here For You by a friend, Daniel Westwood. And you don't realise how many people won't talk about it. And sometimes that's all they need is that talk. And so yeah, it can be quite hard. You've got to go on and still do it. But the thing is, they've come to see a show, and you got to get on and do it. And you know what I mean. You can come off and you can cry and get it over and done with. And sometimes you just make jokes out of it. And you see comics that sometimes do jokes that are close to the knuckle, and sometimes it's the way of escaping. I remember when I was in St Helens, before rehearsal started, my nan passed away. I'm very close to my nan and granddad. And I went during tech for her funeral, and I asked my stepbrothers if they would help me carry the coffin in. And we had the wake, and I went back to St Helens, and the tech was still going. And I thought, do I go and sit in the hotel and probably beat myself up and we're back, or do I go in and carry on with the tech? So I went and carried on with the tech in my penguin suit, and it was up to the ghost gag, and it was the comedy bench who bringing on the wooden bench. And first thing I said was, I've carried enough wood today, bloody hell, can we move on to the next scene? But that was my way of getting through it, and sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to make jokes to just get through it. And you know what I mean? A lot of comics will tell you, you know what I mean, we all have the same troubles as everyone else, but you've got to be happy. And if when you walk into work that day and you've not got a smile on your face, someone goes, there's something completely and utterly wrong, because you should always have a smile on his face. And sometimes it's hard for comics to be able to do it as well.
Thank you for telling us that.
No,
that's quite humbling, to be fair.
It's what you have to do. In this business, you make a lot of sacrifices. I remember listening to Billy's talk with you, and saying like, what's the bad things about pantomime and stuff like that is, I miss all my kids' Christmas plays, and I miss parents' evenings, and I miss stuff like that because I'm out touring. I did a tour of a pantomime in China for 3 months, and I came back, and it was only a month till my wedding, and I came back the day before my daughter's birthday, and you miss a lot of stuff, but you do it to try and give them a better time in life. And when they get to come and see the shows and get to go backstage and see everything like that, that's the moments when you make up for the bad times. So yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices, but it's what you have to do, and that's the business I chose. And if I did it again, I'd choose the same route, because it's what I love. It's what I love to do.
Do you want to have a break a minute, mate?
No, I'm sound.
Are you sure? Yeah,
I'm absolutely sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember, you know what I mean. My parents were split up, and it was nothing against my dad and that side. But when I got to secondary school, I didn't want to go there. Not because I didn't want to go see him, but because there was something that was going on off each weekend and stuff like that. And that's why it's sometimes a bit hard of going away now when you've got the time and when they want to be with you before the time when they want to get lost and leave you alone. It is hard, but you know what I mean. Again, like you said, you're not going out to get drunk. You're going out to work, which is hopefully to provide something better for them. It's hard, but you just got to crack on.
How was the summer? Because for the listener, they may not know, but you were in Pirates of the Pavilion?
Yeah, Pirates of the Pavilion at Weymouth. It was my second year there. Absolutely loved it. Made-to-measure pantomimes. It's brilliant because he uses all kudos to scenery, amazing costumes. He uses the Twins FX, and it's a different show each year. So it's still Pirates of the Pavilion, but they go on a different adventure. So I actually go down on a Monday morning. I set off at 5 o'clock in the morning for 2 shows on a Monday, 2 shows on a Tuesday, and then the Wednesday morning drive back. So this year weren't too bad, actually. The drive's a bit of a pain and stuff like that. But the year before I didn't drive. So it used to take me 12 hours to get there on coaches. I used to do coaches there. Bloody awful. But again, it's what you do to save money on like people think because you do shows you're on thousands and thousands of pounds at Christmas. Yeah, you get a good wage at Christmas, but the touring ones and stuff like that during the year, unless you're a name, it's not really brilliantly paid. And remember, you got to take off your hotel, you got to take off your travel, unless the producer provides them now. But you know what I mean? It's a hard gig. It's like people gigging up and down the country. They've got to take into consideration their accommodation and the travel. Are doing that. Yeah, they might get paid well for one night, but when you take that off and stuff, my producing partner, who was driving down to Wales, he didn't get back till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then at 7 o'clock he were up to do a press launch for his Panto. That's the sort of thing it is. But it's a good laugh. It's a good laugh.
I'm finding from you is it's all about the comedy. It's all about the fun side of it. What are the downsides of the business apart from obviously being away from the family? What are the actual real tricky parts that you don't like about the business?
When I first started in pantomime, it was still very much of going. When you're at the top of the bill, you're at the top of the bill. Now, if that person at the top of the bill wanted you sacked, you'd be sacked. It's sometimes like that. There's a lot of backstabbing, and there's a lot of people that can get put down, and you can have things. I've had lines and parts taken off me because someone that was above me weren't happy that I was getting the laughs. That's hard when you're paid to do a job. And remember, it's your career as well. I understand it's their career and they need to protect themselves. But remember, it's also your career. And it's hard to be able to find the right balance. One of the best people I've worked with is a dame called Simon Foster. Who was a resident dame at St Helens. And we just knew what each other were thinking. Always knew what we were thinking. And I can remember a couple of times he did what they used to call top a joke. So I'd do a joke and they would find something funny and top it. Now, a lot of people will get annoyed by that. And he'd like say to me, come off and he'd go, oh, just top that. Is it all right? I was like, Si, it were hilarious. What is best for the show is best for us. Never worry. And if I top someone's joke, it's never to put someone else down. It's because you've seen a funny moment and you've gone with it. Sometimes they fall flat on their ass. I say sometimes. Most times they fall flat on their ass. I've died so many times. And then there's times where it works. And I think, especially with comedy, it's like when you're at drama school and you do improvisation classes. And my improvisation teacher said, always say yes. Never say no. If something happens, go with it. See what happens. Don't shut something off, because you never know what'll happen, and you've got to. So that can be some of the bad times in the industry. One thing I'm finding now is etiquette in the theatre is bad. When I was doing Pirates in the summer, there was during my scene, there was a woman on the front row texting. She was literally sending a text. The kids next to her were just in awe or watching everything. She was sending a text. I thought, sod this. I jumped down. And I grabbed her phone and went, oh, you're texting. Come on, love, tell us who you're texting. And she held onto that phone for dear life. And instead of like having a go, I thought, well, let's make a laugh out of it. Let's have a thing. And then hopefully she'll learn not to get her phone out again because she's been caught out. And she put in a complaint against me. She put in a complaint against me. She apparently I I pulled a shoulder and stuff like this and did that. And I was like, are you joking? I would never hurt anyone in my life. I would never offend anyone. It's the job I do. I aim to please. It's what I want. I want to make people happy. And yeah, she put in a complaint about me. But unfortunately, producers and stuff like that now, even when there's people that are wrong, they have to do something to make it better for them, even if they were in the wrong. And that's another downside to the industry at the moment, is there's a lot of people that want to complain about things. I know it's like you go and see a show, people complain that they can't come in. If they're late, you're late. What don't you understand? It's like showing up for work. Do you show up for work 10 minutes late? Or do you show up for work early to be there on time? So why do it to someone else's work? That's the only thing. Yeah.
How are you finding kids these days?
Oh, he's...
Because you said about use the iPads and things, so they need to be more engaged. But how are you actually finding them as sort of little souls that want to be entertained?
Well, I think my connection with them is because when I do panel, I have a voice and I talk like this. That came from Dougie Chapman's wife, Beryl. We were in Barrow and we was doing... I was playing Buttons in Cinderella, and it'd been after the tech, and she said, "Buttons, can you be more Buttonsy?" I said, "You what? Can you be more Buttonsy?" I said, "What do you want? A stupid voice like this?" "Yeah." And then, since then, that has been my voice for Panto for the rest of the time. And because I act like a kid, people say to me, are you gay? Is he gay? I was like, why? Well, it's just the way that you talk and the way that you float about. And I went, no, I'm a child. I said, and everything I take and I do as a child. And it's innocence. And it's not the mouth that it comes out of, it's the mind that it goes into. Whichever way you want to take it is whichever way you want to take it. You will take it different to how a kid takes it. And you'll take it different to how a teenager takes it. But the way I do it goes on to all levels for adults, kids, teenagers, grandparents. And I think that's... Luckily, I've never had a point where I'm having kids tuning off. But that's the way I like to do it. I like to be as a kid and see anything innocence. And it's up to you on which way you want to take it.
How much of that actually is you still being a child yourself?
Probably a lot. I grew up quite fast. I started with amateur stuff, stage managing when I was 14, and I've always been around adults. As I said, my mum and dad split up. I've got stepbrothers and stepsisters and stuff like that. But there was a lot of times where I was the only one that was on my own, and then they would come or I'd go to there. But constantly it was me. So I used to go to a lot of adult things with my parents. You know what I mean, like dinner parties and stuff like that. So I'd always been around adults. So that's why people always say to me, "You're not that old." And then when I became a parent, then you've got to be that old as well. So when I'm on stage, is me being able to release probably being a kid again. Yeah, there was a lot of things. Not a lot of things that I missed. But not different to not having a brother or a sister there with you and being able to be daft. I used to have to do a lot of things on my own. I can remember having my action men and with my curtains on my windshield doing shows. I'd do a show like that. So it was sort of, I used to use a lot of time to myself. So now it's that interaction of they're all like my brothers and sisters, they're my gang, and interacting with them is my way of being like a little kid again, which is good fun. It's a good laugh. Why not? Everyone wants to be daft. Have that time of being daft, and the best thing is I get paid to be daft. So, win-win.
Were you a class comic?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was a class fool. Yeah. It was hard. Secondary school was hard time.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Wath, Port Pius. I went to a Catholic school. Because I am a character. Some people don't like me, and that's not a problem. I get upset that someone wouldn't like me. And there were a couple of people in school that didn't, and I don't know if that was because, well, secondary school's hard anyway. But just the way I wear my heart on my sleeve. If I get upset, I'll cry. And to some people, they're going, must be a girl, must be gay, must be this, must be that. And I used to have a lot of friends that were girls at school. And I used to do football, so I was in with the lads. But then I also used to do drama, so was with the girls' side as well. And so I just used to, instead of getting upset about things, just used to make a laugh out of it, make a joke out of it, and stuff like that. So I was the class clown. I used to get told off for being a class clown. I used to be in all the top sets. I was in all the top sets at school, but with my GCSE results, you could spell fudge. I couldn't revise. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. But what I used to do was, when we used to get these books for revision and stuff like that, well, I used to learn the answers at the back for the questions that she used to ask me on that day, memorise them, and that were it. So she thought I revised. GCSE results day, I was like, uh-oh. Luckily, I didn't need them. I got an A in expressive arts. I got a C in maths, but I got a triple distinction at college for performing arts. So, but no, school was hard, but college was better. You didn't get judged for being who you were at college. I went to Doncaster College. It was called SIPA, the performing arts side, and you could go around there wearing a bright blue hat, a bright pink top, yellow shorts, and luminous green leggings. No one would care. Because you were there with the video art students, you were there with the music students, graphic design and stuff like that. It was all sort of the same area, and nobody cared. And I think that's one thing that's better than secondary school, because you divided into like sort of music groups as well. Like people that like rock and people that like pop and stuff like that, and you sort of divided into it. And for no reason, and it's you don't mix with that group, so they're not your friends, and you think, oh, they're a bit weird. But then you move into college, and it's like, oh, no, you're all right. No, you're all right, because you're mixing a different thing. So no, college, I absolutely love college. I never missed a day of it. But secondary school, yeah, class clown, but could have done better. I think that's what it said on all the reports. Could have done better.
So would your advice be for people to go down the college route to try and get into theatre?
Yeah, I would go to college first. The performing arts courses at college are brilliant. Because it's hard. Like I said, I never was good at written stuff, and in expressive arts, you had to do a play and stuff like that, and put it on and do it all, and you got marked on that. And at college, there is always work, but you had to write a diary. Now I'm crap at writing it, so I said to him, I went, "Can I video myself?" Like, what do you mean? I said, well, after each one, when I'm supposed to write in my diary, instead of doing that, can I film myself? And I'll talk about what's happened and what's done. And they went, yeah, don't see why not. So that took that hurdle away from me. Doing like that, if I went and did it as an A-level, I probably would have failed. Because of how much is written. You don't learn theatre from reading it from a book. You can learn information and stuff like that of what happened, but you don't learn how to act from it. You learn how to act by seeing and by watching and doing. You don't learn it from a book. And I think that's one thing now. It's like at schools and stuff like that, I think the teachers, like in any subject, should be teachers that have experienced it and done it. How can you teach something from a book? You teach by what you've learnt and what you've done. I love going into stage coaches and stuff like that and teaching them. And I teach from what I've learned from doing it as a professional, not from going, this is a syllabus that you have to go to. Oh, now you're doing Shakespeare. I've never done Shakespeare in my life. I wouldn't go and teach a Shakespeare class. I've done Shakespeare, but I don't know it to the knowledge of teaching it. And if the knowledge of teaching it's from reading a book, that's not a knowledge, because you could just say, well, there you go, read the book. That's not how you teach. So definitely going down a college route where most of the time people have been in. At my drama school, for TV, we were learning from directors that were still directing Casualty, EastEnders, producers from Emmerdale. We were learning TV from them that are directing and in the industry and still doing it, and that's what you should do. Learn from the people that are, and that's why I say go out on jobs. You'll learn more on jobs sometimes than what you would do from reading a book.
Is there anything you'd like to do in the future that you haven't done yet? Because you've done so much already.
I want to go into I'd love musicals. Absolutely adore musicals. But the parts that I can play for singing wise will not be till I'm older. Like, I could do Thénardier in Les Mis. I could do Dr. Dillamond or the Wizard in Wicked. Edna in Hairspray. But these are the parts that, even though I am getting older now, I don't look necessarily that old to be able to do it. You just got to wait for them. But that's what I would love to go in. You know what I mean? I'll go and watch Les Dennis, Phil Jupitus, Jason Manford. Jason Manford's got an amazing voice. Going and watching them in musicals as well. But that's what old comics used to have to do. They used to have a backup, because if the joke's going bad, they used to sing a song. That's what they used to do, you know what I mean? They're not getting a joke. Right, stick the track on, I'll sing a song. So they used to have that backup as well. That's Billy. Billy will tell you, you know what I mean? If he would ever die, you need to sing a song. So yeah, that's what I'd love to do. I'd love to go into musicals. That's the thing. But just got to wait a few more years, hopefully, before that. My producer, Michael Harrison. If you're listening, Michael, one of your next ones, put me on one.
Nothing like a subtle plug, is there?
Nothing
or a
like
subtle
that.
hint, yeah.
I could have been Igor or something like that in Young Frankenstein.
Does it have to be comedy?
No, not really. Anything. I just love to perform, especially theatre. If TV and film came along, I would never turn it down. But theatre's a way to be. You're brought into a different world. That world that you're submerged in. That's what I like. And you know what I mean? If anything goes wrong, you haven't got a backup. It's not TV and film where you go, cut, do it again. And that's why theatre's dangerous. But it's that adrenaline that keeps you going.
And how do you think about pantomime now? Now it's kind of gone from a naff sort of part of the theatre through to essentially how cool Panto is. We wouldn't be talking about Panto if it wasn't cool.
Panto is cool. It is. It's a genre that's never done before, and there's a lot of people that look the nose down on it and go, hold on, you try for 6 weeks doing 2 shows a day. They don't do that in the West End. And as well, you know what I mean, you have to a certain degree got understudies, but they're the ensemble, which they can sing, dance and act. But and this is meant with no disrespect at all, but it's easier for an ensemble to go and understudy a prince or a princess than it would to be a dame or a comic. I would never want anyone to go on for me. Touch wood, I've never missed a show. Never. And I wouldn't want someone to have to go on for me because it's a hard job. And I always work down with the person that is understudying me. I'll always sit down with them with a script, because all the stuff in the script is 90% my routines, the opening and stuff like that, and go, right, let's work out what you want to do. If you want to do like my magic thumbs that I do, if you want to do that, I'll teach you how to do it and you can do it. Or if you want to cut that out and go on to doing more talky things with some throwaway one-liner gags and stuff like that, then let's do that for you. Because it's like me going on to do a dame. I could probably get myself through it, but I wouldn't want to take over their part, because it's hard, you know what I mean? It's them, what they've built up, it's their character, not just for this show, but what they've been building up over years. So that's why pantomime's exciting, because you'll never know. I know I got told from once that there was a star in a panto that actually did less shows than what the understudy did. An MD told me that once. I was like going, how can you... Oh, but that understudy probably broke through from that. Same like you're doing musical theatre, they break through from going on, which is great, and understudy should get a chance. But bloody hell no, I wouldn't want to understudy a comic if I weren't a comic.
So what do you think the next steps are for you?
Well, I've started my next step this year. Jake, my producer, has been absolutely brilliant in allowing me to write new routines, and that's one thing I think comics need to do now. It's like you look at Matt Slack and people like Matt Slack and Billy and stuff like that, and they're writing new stuff each year to go in, and routines that are becoming their own. And there's a lot of companies now which hire actors that are funny than comics, and I was sometimes a bit scared to write my own stuff and things like that in case it would fail, and I'm now bringing more ideas and saying to producers, can I do this, can I do that? Yeah, write it down for us, let's have a look. And go, yeah, I've now wrote 4 routines that are in this Christmas, which is brilliant, and I've absolutely loved, and it's good for me, and that's what needs to keep doing. So, you know what I mean, I'm really thankful for Kudos as well for putting the trust in me, having me back at Darlow and saying, look, anything you want to put in, you tell us, and let's do it. I think that's one thing that needs to keep developing. You know what I mean, you can take older people's routines, but you've got to put your own spin on it. You know what I mean, it's flattering when I've seen my routines that have been stolen, but done the exact same way. I can remember I got an email once from someone they sent me a picture of the script and it went, how are you doing guys, cracking? It's like, no, think of something yourself. It's like me going on and going, nice to see you nice. It don't work because Brucey does that. And I think that's what people need to learn, is doing it more themselves and just having the confidence to put it on and get them routines. And there's nothing wrong with having a look and changing stuff about, but make something your own and build yourself up. And it builds a panto up as well of doing things like that.
You took one of my questions that I was going to ask you as well about how does it feel to be plagiarised? I was just about to ask you that as well.
You know what I mean? It happens, and in one way you've got to take it as a compliment that people want to do your routines. And you see stuff on Britain's Got Talent and things like that where they do someone else's routine and stuff like that, and it's going, but if you did it and made it your own, then you're going, well done, mate. Everyone nicks everyone's stuff. It's a thing. You cannot copyright it. If I was not upon the stage, you can't copyright it. 12 Days of Christmas, you can't copyright it, but make it your own. And people appreciate that more. And then that'll give someone else that has seen it so many times going, oh wow, they've done it that way. That's brilliant. How can I change it to make it work for me, and what way can I do that? It's like when I go into the audience, if there's anyone there with a tub of sweets, don't have them open, because they will go to everyone in the audience. That's, you know what I mean? Is
that your little gift? You look out for things like that?
Oh yeah. I used to be, and to a certain extent still, one of them that I like stuff that happens in the moment. I like off the cuff stuff, and I like to assess what's happening in the situation. I never used to be able to write it all down. I used to have to just get on with it and see what happens. And that's what I like to do, especially with the audience. I like to see what's happening out there, and especially on things like 12 Days of Christmas, go out. And I think I get away with a lot more stuff than other comics do, just because of the voice and the persona that I do, because it is like a child. You know what I mean? You can get annoyed with a child, but you can't really have a go at them and stuff like that when it's something that's funny. It's like when your kid, you know, it's when you got your kids and they say something or do something wrong, and you're like, if it were any other kid, you're going, oh, but I'm going to laugh because it's actually funny, but I'm going to laugh after I've told them off and they've gone away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of them. So I think I manage to get away with stuff like that. But yeah, I like to judge and see what's off the cuff. Go with the moment. but learn when to cut it off. That's one thing I see, which again is where some unexperienced comics is knowing when to cut off a joke and read the audience. If they're not laughing and they're getting tired with it, stop, move back on. I always say to anyone I work with that if I do go off the cuff, I will always bring you back in with the right line. Don't worry. And I'll say to them when they're stood there and they're going on, I'll go, Cinders, find a joke, put it in, come on, we're having a laugh here. just go with it, it's all right, be fine. Include everyone in it. If you're going to do jokes, you need to include everyone in. If you're not including everyone, then it just falls flat. But yeah, read your audience and work it from that.
So who are your influences?
Cannonball, Mick Miller, Billy, Joe Pasquale, Grumbleweeds, Paul, Peter Kay, Lee Evans. There's not many comics I don't like. What I've noticed over the last few years is there's some that are more behind the scenes that are the actual funny people. Ricky Gervais, I don't like him. I just don't get it. Stephen Merchant, love. And I think that's one thing you notice now with writing. It's like you look at the stuff. Office, didn't like. Extras, loved. And I think it was more Stephen Merchant that I loved in Extras than it was Ricky Gervais. And then you look at like, obviously she's huge now, but when it was Gavin and Stacey, James Corden, Ruth Jones, and James Corden went off and did the Horn and Corden thing that flopped, and then going and watching Ruth Jones as Stella and things like that, and you're like, this is hilarious. So I see them unsung heroes, but now they're obviously big. But they were the people that I used to notice before the actual bigger people. And so yeah, there's not much comedy I don't like. I think some people now try to offend for a laugh. I don't think you ever need to offend, and take it to an extreme. I think Frankie Boyle is one person that when he first started on Mock the Week and things like that, and there were some close knuckle jokes that they were funny, but when he realised he was getting a reaction, I think he sort of tried it and made it worse and things like that. Of going, don't try and, if you're getting jokes, don't try and beat it. You know what I mean? You're getting the laughs, don't beat it. Let it carry on with what you're doing. You know what I mean? You got a little laugh because it's close to knuckle, but then Jimmy Carr, always close to the knuckle, but I think he's great. I actually came out of a gig of watching Jimmy Carr twice now, where I came out with a headache from laughing so much. Absolutely brilliant. For off the cuff stuff, Al Murray. Al Murray is amazing. He was in Swansea while we were rehearsing, and I watched his gig, and just brilliant, especially off the cuff. But the man is so intelligent. He's such a clever guy. Because I can remember it was the first time of the what were it when we lost all the money? What's it called? The country lost all recession.
The recession, yeah.
Recession. He just come in and he was talking to this woman and goes, "What do you do, love?" She went into banking and he reeled everything out about the recession and going on like that. But you know that, wouldn't you, love? Because you work in a bank, and he like going on it. But you know that, love, wouldn't you? And brilliant. Just all the off the cuff stuff. I think the first half an hour of his show was just off the cuff of going, "Who are you? What are you doing? What are you doing?" Brilliant. So yeah, I like to watch a lot of comedy, and you can always learn something off someone, and even if it's someone you don't like, you can learn something off them going, "That's not the way that I would do it," or going, "Oh, I didn't really find it funny, but it got a reaction. Maybe look at that." So I wouldn't say never put anyone down. I wouldn't say that they're not funny. It's just not my cup of tea. And never put anyone down for what they do, especially if they're still working and they're getting a response and getting laughs, and people are enjoying it. Don't begrudge anyone for what they do. Just obviously you'll learn from it for whichever way you want to take it.
Have you ever thought about doing a bit of stand-up comedy, like in the clubs?
I've thought about it, and I don't know. I'd love to do it. I was looking actually this year of writing stuff for next summer to maybe trial out in havens and stuff like that, holiday parks, and seeing, because again I'll have to learn how to do that as stand up. I think the closest thing I got was to doing the adult pantomime last year, where again it was off the cuff stuff. I was doing my opening spot. I think it was about 15 minutes into the show, and 4 people on the front row walk in, and never in Panto I've been able to like go on, but it was the adult one, and I thought, do you know what? I started walking down, and I went blah blah blah, and why are you late? And literally just then I was like going, actually that was quite. I went on for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I went, oh, that's stand up. Why don't you just give it a go? But I think that came back to the point of going, I was never good at writing that, like a stand-up set. I can write routines and write scripts, but I've never been doing that. So that's the thing I want to work on, and hopefully next year go round and do the holiday parks and stuff like that, and try it out doing that. Because when you look at it, they are all little routines in a way. So I was working out, I was watching people. I watched Mark Jones, who used to work for Kudos. I think he's with Holman this year, and he was there while I was on at the holiday park last year, and I watched his act, and it was brilliant. And I'm going, that's that routine, and then it's that, and then it's that. Oh, actually, yeah, let's give this a go. So that's me aim for maybe next summer, going round in between pirates.
To maybe take you to an open mic night one night and just say, go on, have a couple of beers and
Oh.
go on, just...
I'm funnier when I'm drunk.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. So yeah, never know. Bit of Dutch courage. Give it a bash. See what happens.
We'll do that. So you said about the adult panto, and obviously you cross-referenced earlier on about the Cinderella Jim Davids. What actually made you want to do an adult or write an adult panto?
Well, I used to watch when I was younger. The adult. It were a bit of a naughty thing because my stepdad had it on VHS in his cupboard, and I used to get it out and watch it in secondary school before, because they used to work at the other side of Doncaster, so I used to get home from school and used to watch it and stuff like that, and then put it back before they got home. I loved it, absolutely loved it. And then there were Boobs in the Wood, weren't there? And then Cinderella too, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then my producing partner now, Tom Rolfe, we only worked out a year and a half ago that we only lived down the road from each other. And that's the thing, sometimes in the panto world you don't get to work with the other comics because they're playing your part in a different theatre, so you never sometimes get to do all that stuff. And we said, oh hey, we should go out for a drink and stuff like that, and we went out in Redcar for Thirsty Thursday. I love a Thirsty Thursday, pound a drink in some places, brilliant. No, there's some positives for living in a crap hole. I said this to my stepdad the other day. I said, hey, petrol down, we're only 121. Brilliant. And he went, yeah, there's some advantages for living in a crap hole, isn't there? So we went out and we got drunk, and we were talking about adult panto. And we said, when we started talking about the routines that we do in it, and we went, do you know what? Let's do it. And we started writing one, and we found a venue to put it on at Billingham Forum. We did a one night, and we sold out. And we didn't know how it was going to work. And I can remember Tom was telling me he was out at the front, and the first people through the door were these people in their 80s. And he was like, have they come for the right show? Have they come on the wrong night? What's going off? And front of house manager went, no, they're here for Chippendales next week as well. And they absolutely loved it. There was a bloke in his 80s on the front row that was wetting himself. And we started doing this voiceover thing at the beginning, and they joined in with it. And then as the overture started, they all were cheering and up for it, and it was like, great. And then from that point, we were both settled, and we sold out. And there were people going to the box office because we announced what we're doing next year, and wanting to book tickets already. and it'd not gone on sale, so we had to put it on sale the next day, and we're doing 2 nights this year. But no, the response we got from it was great. And to be honest, some of the routines are not far away from what you do in a kids' panto. There's little changes and stuff like that, but the innuendos and stuff that works in kids' pantos still works in the adult pantos. You know what I mean? No one uses a C word. That's one thing I'm definitely not. Like, we don't use that. We don't need to use that. There's a few F-bombs and stuff like that, but it's not normally really roting. It's them stuff that comes off the cuff or stuff that happens within the show and the audience. But no, I absolutely loved it, and you know what I mean. We've not nicked anything from Jim and what he does, but we have had to take like the elements of going this way around things and doing this in a certain way. But no, he's doing really well, and as I say, tickets are selling so well this year as well, which is brilliant. So we've absolutely enjoyed doing it, and hopefully it's something that we can carry on and hopefully take out on tour on a bigger scale and stuff like that in years to come.
Because there's not many adult pantos out there, to be fair. And it was, maybe it's because of the whole change of opinion of people now that, oh no, you can't say this, you can't say that. How are you finding that as well in pantomime?
There's certain stuff that's, I think, is taken way out of context. You know what I mean? Nobody does anything in a panto to offend anyone. You know what I mean? We all do it to make a laugh, and like I said earlier, it's not the mouth it comes out of, it's the mind that it goes into. I know there was this big thing about a company that was putting on Aladdin, and they had PC Ping and PC Pong, and they were saying that it was racist. I was like going, no, it's PC Ping and PC Pong due to the fact of going the two, and they're going against each other, and jokes are being battered against each other like a game of ping pong. It's just a clever way of using it for Aladdin with it sounding Oriental way. You know what I mean? It's not used to offend anyone that's Oriental or Chinese, or, you know what I mean? It's not. No one does it for that. Why, especially a kids' pantomime, why would anyone do that to offend something that kids are going to? I think there's a lot of things that are just really taken out of context now. And like I said, comics want to, and dames as well, they want to provide laughter and entertainment and make people happy. So why would they do jokes that are going to purposely offend people? No one does that. You know what I mean? You always are going to offend someone. Even with clean jokes and stuff like that, you're going to offend someone. But that's the way they've taken it, not the way that you're saying it to offend. And I think sometimes we need to sit back and just go, we're here to have fun and have a laugh. Why can't you sort of enjoy it like that? It's hard, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just taken the wrong way at the moment, and it's hard to be able to find that balance. You've just got to look at it again in innocent eyes.
And whenever we finish up on one of these podcasts, we always ask people your dream panto scenario. Have you been prepared yet for this?
No, go on.
You haven't been prepared for it?
No, go on.
Right then. Dream panto involves, it can be you in the cast, it can be you sitting in the auditorium watching your dream panto. It could be people who are still performing now or people from the past.
Right.
Who would be, for a start, what is your dream pantomime? And what would be your dream cast?
Dream pantomime. And I've got to probably take this because I've always loved it, is Dick Whittington. So, one person that we were very close to doing it and never got to do it in the end, share the stage with, I would have loved to have Paul Shane as my dame. The Chuckle Brothers as my captain and mate. For Alice, I would go with, just because I had an absolute huge crush on her as a kid. I'm going with Rachel Stevens. I saw that she was in Panto in Bournemouth last year, and I was like, I've got to go and see. But too far away. Fairy. Oh, no, I'll come back to Fairy. Baddie for King Rat. And he was absolutely brilliant. And he taught me a lot of stuff at drama school as well, and how to build scenery. Granville Saxton. And he played King Rat for First Family with Barbara Windsor. I think it were in Aylesbury. Brilliant. And he went to RADA, but he also designed and built Princess Diana's bathroom. Brilliant. That's how he taught me scenery. Absolutely brilliant. I'd love to have do a pantomime, because we never got to do that as well. That I would like to done. Dick Whittington. Trying to think.
You can be selfish if you want and be in it yourself.
Oh, I'd be Idle Jack. Oh yeah, got to be Idle Jack. Dick Whittington, someone that I'd probably say is top of the game at the moment, and Charlie Stent. I never got to see him, but I would have loved to. So that's probably why I picked that. And Fairy, do you know what? I'm going to go Julian Clary. Another person I've never had a chance to see in Panto and would like to. So that's the reason that I'd use them. And let's have it at the best place ever. Let's have it at the Palladium. That would be me. Yeah, that would be my dream. Because I loved Dick Whittington the last time I did it. And it had all the interaction and the 3D scenes and stuff like that in. It was brilliant. And let's get the twins in with all their effects as well. Yeah, that's my dream Panto.
Speaking of the twins, are there any effects that you love best of all?
Yes. I got to do in Pirates last year the flying jetpack, and I had to lose 3 stone to be able to do it. Because of the way that the health and safety and stuff like that, and the way that the effect works, that is, absolutely brilliant. Their effects are brilliant. And I lost 3 stone for the effect, and one was to do it because I really wanted to do the flying, and 2 actually made me feel a lot better about myself. Came back last year and I put on 1.5 stone. I put on 10 kilograms, but I found out that the way that they're doing the effects now, if I was flying this year, I would have been able to do it. So I was like, right, next year, no, sod the diet. I want to fly again. But they're absolutely fantastic. The stuff that they do, you just won't think of. You won't think of it. And when I was talking about the routine that I'm doing this year, in Darlow, which I don't think has ever been done in Panto before, so that's a reason to come to Darlow this year. As far as I can see, it's never been done before, and that's what I wanted to do. And they were telling me all these ideas and stuff and the way to do it, and I'm like, I would have never thought of it like that and doing this. And they were like, no, you've got to do it like this. The geniuses, even though I've been wanting a twins top, and I know they're going to listen to this now, and I talked about this on the radio the other week with them, I want a Twins FX polo top. I've been waiting 2 years and they're still never given me one. But they keep teasing me about it. I've got a light, this little flashlight thing, and they said they made me something very special, and it was a crash helmet with pink fluffy fur over it and the Twins FX right on the front. But now they're doing it that anyone that come round, and I know they'll do it for Darlington, that they'll say give everyone a top apart from Liam. And he did it in front of me last year. And he keeps going, oh, we forgot. I love him, the buggers, but I love him. But yeah, I think everyone should have a Twins FX or that style in their shows. it's that added magic. Remember, kids come to watch magic. It's the first piece of theatre they see, and you've got to show them that. You've got to show them this magic. It's what makes it special. It's Christmas as well. You know what I mean? It's the time when things happen. You know what I mean? Santa's coming and stuff like that. It's kids' imaginations, and you've got to be able to show them the magic instead of just making them think that there is. You've got to show them it, and these guys do it with bells on.
What do you prefer, a matinee or an evening performance?
Ooh. Matinees are normally full of school kids, so it's normally like 2 shows. There's certain stuff that I'll wait for laughs on an evening that I won't on a matinee due to the adults. I don't mind which one it is as long as the audience are engaging, because sometimes they don't want to. And the ones that I normally find is Boxing Day. Whoever thought of doing Panto on Boxing Day needs to be shot. They do. Because you come up to Christmas and they'll go, hey, I've booked us in for Pantomime on Boxing Day. How great would that be? After Christmas, we'll carry on the fun, we'll go there. They show up, they're hungover, they're full, they're tired, and they sit there and going, why the hell did I book this? They do. Boxing Day. I hate them. Boxing Day
and do you
shows.
tick those boxes as well? Hungover, tired and full.
I couldn't possibly say. But yeah, no, that's honestly, and it's not that the people are horrible people or anything like that, but they're just worn out. So that's the only thing. Matinees and evenings, I'm happy on either. It's two. The way I look at it, it's a different show. It's the same show, obviously, but it's a different route that you go down on. And again, just judging your audience.
Picking on the teachers?
Oh, yes. Oh, you got to. Especially as well, because then the teacher for the rest of the year, that's all they get. Get that abuse. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I used to pick on teachers when I was at school, so why not do it now? Getting paid for it. Brilliant. No, but it's good. And the thing is as well, 90% of the time the teachers join in and have a laugh as well, which is good. And you've got to show that side to yourself, especially at Christmas. But no, definitely. I do like to pick on a lot of people. Last year, I went out with my water gun during 12 days. And what I got away with, I was quite surprised, but I said to them, pass me the toilet rolls, or you're going to get wet. And if they didn't, they got wet. So they knew from the beginning that if you don't give them back, you're gonna... And I soaked them. I literally soaked them. I got in trouble in Hastings once for that. A woman wearing a mink coat on the front row. Why come to Panto, sit on the front row in a mink coat? You're going to get wet, right? Seriously. You're in Hastings, love. Go up. And I was another one with a water gun. There was I was with an ugly sister couple. I can't say who and where because of what happened. But and they didn't mean to. It was just I think they actually blew up a kid's hearing aid with the water guns. They were like, oh no. But yeah, so we had to cut the water guns after that. But you know what I mean? It was one of them things. No one meant to or anything like that. But it's hell. Be careful with water guns.
Oh, well, Liam, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I could say it's been cracking.
Hashtag. No, thank you so much. Absolutely loved it.
Thank you.